Grantham, who will be representing the new community college that is going to appear here in Fulton. We hope it'll be something like the Oswego Valley Community College. We don't know just what it's going to be, and it may not be a community college, it'll be a two-year school. So Fred will be in our chamber offices, and that's an ongoing study among all of the educators in Oswego County now. So we expect that anything new coming in will be a brand new offering, something that won't be offered at SUNY Oswego, something that won't be offered at BOCES, something that won't be offered in the Fulton school system. So we will maintain all of those adult education and ongoing education units, plus some new items. The Retail Council of the Chamber has a very exciting program going on right now. You've all received a letter from the Retail Council offering to allow you to advertise in a folder that will go across the state of New York. There will be 10,000 copies printed. We just talked to Vince, and he said it's just a heck of a deal, $100 for the best ad. I didn't get a chance to talk to Bruce Brasnelli, but I know these guys just have their noses bent something fierce on this price. So get in touch with Ann. Get in touch with Ann, and first come, first served, and we'll try to get you in the next one if we don't get you in this one. The YMCA is having Las Vegas night. I could tell you all about it, but Lyle Wilcox wants to tell you.
Thank you. This Saturday, October 23rd, at Fulton Elks, the Elks will be providing us with their facility and hosting it for us. A casino night from 7 to midnight. We will have a big screen TV to watch the SU Miami game, and the benefits will go towards the new building project. And if you got nothing going on, we think we'll have a great night of entertainment with a little bit of blackjack and big wheel and beat the dealer, and Chuck Connor will be our special guest. And see if SU can keep it close anyways. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyle. Chuck lost all his money in Las Vegas. He didn't bring any back with him. And Dick Camus is going to spend a few minutes with us talking about United Way.
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Ann, and members of the Chamber. I appreciate a few minutes for talk about United Way. I'm serving with Muriel Allerton as co-chairman, and we're out to raise $265,000. The campaign goal last year was a little over $300,000. We achieved 89% of that. The board of directors have seen fit to draft the goal slightly because we had pledges in excess of $275,000 last year. So we think this is a very realistic goal, and with your help, we can make that goal. Muriel and I have visited various agencies in the United Way. They're served by United Way, I should say. And one of the ones that impressed me, there's a lot of people who have needs in our community, and they fall through the cracks from help from government. And United Way agencies help these people a great deal. At ARC, Association for Retarded Children, the other day we had the privilege of observing a class of infant stimulus program that's funded by United Way. Those are children between the ages of 1 and 4, and heaven knows they're retarded and disabled, and they do need our help and support. Another thing that was amazing to me is that there's been over 7,000 occasions where people have picked up food at the food service or food pantry area at St. Vincent de Paul, part of Catholic Charities in our community. So here we are 3/4 of the way through this year, and over 7,000 occasions people have needed food for their table. So we're the more fortunate people, and many of you head up businesses and industries, and we ask your support. Please join the team. Please urge your employees to contribute 100%. Another amazing thing was that last year there was only 6 businesses and industries that contributed 100% in our community, and there should be 50 industries and businesses that contribute 100%. So please, chip in yourself. You know the needs. Spread the word to your employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and good luck in your drive. Apparently we're winging it without a microphone today. I don't know if these guys are powerful voices. Well, welcome to the another Good Morning Fulton breakfast program where we thank you for a fine turnout here today. We don't have much elbow room, but I'm sure the program will be interesting enough that we won't be uncomfortable. In alphabetical order, I'd like to introduce our 3 special guests. Philip Blair, independent candidate. Donald Bullard, representing the Democratic Party, and Verner Drone, the endorsed Republican candidate. And of course, we all know they're running for mayor of the city of Fulton. They won't necessarily appear in that order when they get up and give their formal talk, because they have picked straws, and whoever has picked first will appear first. No. We didn't pick straws yet. Well, we're going to do that right now. In the meantime, I'll just tell you that we do have some ground rules. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to talk about himself and about his programs. And then we will have questions from the audience. We have indexed 3x5 cards in front of you. Write your questions on there, and they'll come up here, and I will read them, and you direct them at one candidate, 2 candidates, or all 3 of them. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to all the questions, and then, of course, the rebuttals. Now, we have a time limit. And we had, because of time limitations, timekeepers in the back will hold up cards, and the candidates will keep an eye on them, and when they get down to their last 10 seconds or so, they'll know that they're pretty much at the end of it. So at this time, I introduce Verner Drone.
I'm first.
Don second, and Bill's third.
Thank you, Vince, and good morning, everybody. Everybody here out there? Okay, very good. Just briefly, I only have 3 minutes, so I'll be very brief, much shorter than the other night when Don and I both ran out of time at 5 minutes. So you don't realize how fast 5 minutes goes, and 3 minutes probably even goes faster. But we'll start going here with the timekeeper at 3 minutes right now. Okay? Okay. That's the way it goes. Well, let's see. 1.5, I'm wasting all my time, but I can do it. Okay. I'm a candidate for mayor, city of Fulton again, because I feel very deeply about the city of Fulton and its future. I believe I have the consensus building skills needed, the leadership skills that are needed, and I'm the only candidate with mayoral experience. I believe I know our city. I'm the only candidate that's born and raised in the city of Fulton, and outside of my college days, I've lived here all my life. I've worked with our community leaders over the years. I have out-on-the-job experience managing our city, experience that is needed in these complex times. My aggressive 6-point program covers almost every aspect of the city, including its quality of life, its neighborhoods, city management, tourism, and city beautification. We have to move the city government closer to the people. We have to go into the wards for listening sessions. We have to resolve the small problems before they become big problems. We also need to make Fulton a friendlier city. We need to build coalitions with Fulton's varied constituencies, such as business, industry, government entities, and all our residents. We have to start communicating and working better together, and we'll end up with a much better community. We did this in the 1980s when I was mayor. We made great strides, many great strides, with projects such as the West Side Business District, the Silk Mill Senior Citizen Housing, a new lower bridge, a new water pipeline supply. We did these and more with cooperation, not confrontation. We need a person with strong leadership, consensus building skills, a commitment, and an atmosphere of cooperation and friendliness to jumpstart Fulton forward again. I believe I am that person. I have never stopped caring about the city of Fulton, and by caring and sharing and working together, we can make Fulton a better city for all. Fulton needs a person to bring everyone together again, to manage effectively, to heal the fractures that we are seeing in city government. I can do this, I have done it, I can lead by experience, so we can work together and work together for Fulton now. In closing, I ask that you give me the opportunity and privilege to be your mayor again. Thank you very much.
Now I give you Donald Bullard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, chamber members. When I came to Fulton in 1970, there was a positive attitude. There was an attitude of pride and caring. Fulton was a city moving in the right direction. Over the past 2 years, we've seen a lot of confrontation. We've seen a lot of controversy, and we've seen a city standing still, or if not standing still, moving backward. We need to change the direction of the city of Fulton. At one time, this city had the potential, if it wasn't at that time, of being the best small city in New York State. There's no reason that we can't, again, achieve that goal. But we need to change. We need to provide education and training for our city employees to help them be more productive and grow. We need to change some of the ways we do business. We need to look at new technologies in this city and work smarter, technologies that allow us to work smarter. We need to become more productive, more cost efficient, and more friendly. We need to change apathy to empathy. We need to change indifference to involvement. We need to change adversity to accomplishment. And most important of all, we need to change hardly working to working harder. It's a goal we can achieve, and as we go into the 21st century, Fultonians, pardon me, should come to expect excellence and productivity of every sector of this city. Now you know my vision, and now you know my challenge, and now you know why I want to be your mayor.
Good morning. This is my notorious clipboard. I mean, where I go, it goes. First off, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Philip H. Blair. I've lived in this city since 1963 when I was discharged from the service. I've watched the city go from a place where you want to raise your children to a place where the children have no place to go. We've lost a lot of our recreational facilities that the kids used to have in the 60s. We have swimming areas that have been closed, Sharps Pond's closed. The pool, I think, was open this year. The pool on the other side of the river, I believe, was closed most of the time. We have to open up our recreational facilities. The other two candidates brought up in their platform the necessity to open North Bay. Nobody in this town has worked harder to open North Bay than I have. In 1962, I tried to get it open. 1992, I'm sorry. 1993, I circulated petitions trying to get the city to open North Bay. They wouldn't do it. I offered a lease for North Bay to operate it at no cost to the city. They wouldn't lease it. Now it's become an issue. This shouldn't have become an issue in 1993's election. It should have been an issue in 1992. As far as the Kmart Plaza going in 1989, when Mrs. Allerton's administration was in office, and Mr. Raleigh and Mr. Clark came to the council asking for 4,000 gallons of water, I did suggest that we make a better deal for the city of Fulton at that time. We now have a situation where we have FACT, which is a group of concerned merchants in the city of Fulton, filing a lawsuit, which in the long term is going to cost the city money. Win, lose, or draw, the city's going to pay. I'm not against progress. I'm not against new stores moving in the area. I'm against the city giving away our only resource, saleable resource, is water and sewage. This is a very important item for this city. If the Oswego County Water District goes through, that is going to take away one of the saleable items the city of Fulton has. We control the water and sewage in a 14-mile radius overlapping Phoenix and Oswego. And if we lose that selling point, we're not going to gather any industry around us or within the city. I want to be the mayor. I'm concerned. I really feel about this city. And my kids live here. I live here. I enjoy this city. I want to bring it back to where it belongs. I want government by the people, for the people. That's the only way to run government in the city. Thank you.
Now it's time for questions and answers. I don't have any up here yet, but we will have some. In the meantime, I heard Mrs. Allerton's name mentioned, a former mayor. I'll formally welcome her. And we also are honored today to have the person who represents us in Albany in the Assembly, Francis Sullivan. Thank you, Francis. And now, the question is, what cost-cutting plans do you have for your term of office? And I guess we might go in the order that you appeared.
I really don't have, Henry can't come right out and say what cost-cutting things we're going to do. I think we all have to understand that government, you're going to have costs. I think we can certainly do a lot of shifting around, and I have some plans. And I said this the other night that, why can't the fire department help in the housing and zoning? I think we can do some major things with the recreation and DPW. I think that there's certainly a shifting. I think that one of the other things is if we have a city administrator, we certainly can do some better purchasing policies. I think that's going to be a good thing. So those are a couple of ideas that I've got. Thank you.
Can everybody hear me without the microphone and rather than juggle around and play music?
Yeah, sure.
I mentioned earlier new technologies. One of the areas that we could cut costs is with technology. Garbage pickup, for instance. There's a city in Tennessee of 20,000 people that has no recycling, but one man with one truck picks up all of the garbage in that city by using special containers and special equipment. If you had that sort of a system, you could free up people from the Public Works Department to take better care of our parks. Computerization. We need to teach people how to use computers to get information more accurately, faster, and better. There are lots of areas in government. The transportation in this city, the city owns over 75 vehicles. I've proposed the Transportation Committee to study the expected life of the vehicle, how to get the best service for that vehicle, at the lowest possible price. We don't even have a total inventory of our vehicles, and we need to move in that direction.
Some of the cost-cutting ideas we've come up with are, one, we have to go out and take a complete city inventory. We have to know what the city owns, where it's at, and what its value is. If it's junk, get rid of it. We have a budget system which requires us to purchase new equipment to replace old equipment. That's the way it's set up. The state budget's set up the same way, the federal budget is set up the same way. It's called burn up your budget so you have room to request for more. The system is back-assward. Nobody's out there to save money. There are ways of cutting costs in the city. We have to buy equipment to tear up the roads, reclaim our curbs, recycle the blacktop that's on the road, rather than go out and buy new blacktop and set it on top of old blacktop and have it blown away in one winter's time. This is not the way to run the city. You have to utilize your personnel to their fullest and make them proud to work here. And if you don't supply them with the proper equipment to do the job, they're not going to give you their fullest. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. When you finish writing your questions, just raise your hand and somebody will come and pick it up. Another question is, there is a perception that Fulton is in a slump. Is that true? If so, what are your prescriptions for a cure? Don, would you like to take first crack?
Just repeat the first 3 or 4 words.
There's a perception that Fulton is in a slump.
Is that perception true? Yes. Is Fulton in a slump? No. See Nestle Foods Corporation doing an expansion. You hear rumors of layoffs, but you hear good things out of the Miller Brewing Company at the same time. Fulton is not in any more of a slump than the national economy is in a slump. But we need to change attitudes in this city. We need to have the people feel good again about this city like they did in the 70s. We need to do that through leadership, through looking at our programs, through efficiencies, through economies, and through new technologies.
As far as the city being in the slump, I think the political situation in the city has given us a real bad picture to the rest of the country. I mean, it looks real bad on TV when you have a mayor saying, you know, sit down and shut up. It doesn't, it's not good. As far as actually being in the slump, this city is supposed to be pretty well recession-proof. I mean, we have quite a bit of industry in this city. The situation is we now have a lot of people that are on subsidies in the city. We have a lot of elderly people trying to maintain our homes in this city. We have to gear ourselves to getting out and helping these people as far as upgrading their homes, getting them involved. People don't get involved like they used to. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get out, get the people involved in things. Community ward committees, getting involved, helping the neighbor. That good neighbor policy we used to have. I'm all for that. The welcome wagon, I don't know where the welcome wagon is. We should have that back in the city of Fulton. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Oh, I'm sorry.
Some going third, but I think there is a perception out there. I don't believe it, but there is. I think that the city of Fulton is in an enviable position of having a lot of things that can be good for Fulton. The new YMCA, for an example. The Nestle company has got a $40 million expansion. Seal Right's redoing their offices. And you can go on, and even a new hotel that's going to go down the street, a new fast food restaurant down the street, which means jobs, means sales tax, means bed tax. It's perception, yes, but we have to turn it around. We can turn it around, and I firmly believe, as the rest of them have said, is that it's coming out of City Hall. We have too much argument. We're not friendly enough. We don't work together, and this is what we have to do. We have to have leadership and experience that's going to turn this around. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. The next question. The city of Fulton this year is going to show a deficit of approximately $1 million. This means that next year you will face an approximate deficit of $2 million. That is this year plus next year's cost of operations. Specifically, underlined, how will you close that budget gap? Phil, first of
Well, that's a tough question, because I'll tell you what, I don't have privy to all that information. We have, some say a $9 million budget, some say a $13 million budget. We have a water department over there that, in 1992 took in $3 million. They operated on a budget of 1.4 million. And, they operated under budget, but where's that money that's over and above their budget? Is that in a separate account? Does that go into the city budget? We have to look at all the accounts set up by the city, find out where the money is, and instead of buying property over on the west side of the river for a parking lot, we have to take care of what's happening now. We're dedicating $120,000 plus be paid off in 10 years. Is our bonding right? Are we bonding correctly? Are we bonding legally? These are some of the things that have to be looked at. And to come out and say we're going to cut this here and there, you just can't do it right now. I haven't seen the budget. Thank you.
You 3, 1, 2, is that what you're doing? No, I'm 2.
I really don't know where all these figures come about, $1 million. Yesterday, I heard a figure of $100,000 and another figure of $500,000. Let me tell you that as of the end of June 30th, I didn't see that. I have the budgets as of June 30th. We have a couple of problems. Let me tell you what two of the problems are. First of all, it's garbage pickup, which is going to be in a severe deficit this year. And also the other major problem at City Hall is medical care. Medical care is running right through the roof down at City Hall. They under-budgeted. They are going to get blown out on medical care. Medical care is going to be about 10% of the budget there. Unfortunately, what happens is that there is no incentive for your unions to negotiate. Why? Because in the public union, it just keeps going, your old contract just keeps going on. They know they're only going to get a 3% raise anyway. If anything, I ran budgets. My average tax rate increase for 6 years was $4 per thousand. And I know how to run budgets. Thank you.
The City of Fulton is the only dues-paying organization that you belong to that you don't get a treasurer's report. You can go to Kiwanis and you get a treasurer's report. The Chamber of Commerce gives you a treasurer's report, not the City of Fulton. I, too, heard the $1 million rumor. I doubt it. I believe the city will wind up with a deficit closer to $100,000. But you people are entitled to that information, and you don't get it. And that's precisely the point. I have committed that when I'm mayor, I will provide a budget report on a monthly basis to every taxpayer in this city and put a plain language budget in effect so that you know what the average homeowner pays for every service that they receive that needs to be done, and we can do it easily when I'm mayor.
Thank you. What plans do you have for the upgrading of homes in the city?
I think one of the things that obviously we all see in the city of Fulton is some of the blight, throughout the neighborhood. You can go down the street and see a row of really terrific looking houses, and then sitting right next to a terrific looking house, you've got a place that's really decrepit. One of the things we have to do is to have better zoning and building enforcement, and this would certainly be a priority. It was a priority in my last administration. We made great strides in sprucing up houses. I'm not advocating knocking down houses. I advocate replacing what we have in a better shape. We can do it. We've done it before. We have to do it. And this is what it's all about.
It seems hypocritical to me that we don't take care of our sidewalks, our streets, our roads, or our infrastructure, but we ask the people of our city to perform to a higher standard than we, the leaders, are willing to give the people of this city. My plan would be to stop making it profitable for slumlords to make money. We need to enforce our housing codes. We need, and I've heard a plan to use firemen to assist in housing code enforcement. I think it's a great idea. I talked to the fire department about that, and they said that they would be willing to participate with the housing department. We need to do an inventory of our houses so that we know if a house is a two-family in a two-family zone, it can't suddenly and mysteriously become a four-family. If we start enforcing the ordinances that we have, provide leadership through a capital improvements program that will upgrade our infrastructure, we start to lead by doing, and that's what we need to do.
Code enforcement is one of the things that's been lacking in the city, but at the same time, they tried to pass a new building code for code enforcement in the city of Fulton. Unfortunately, I fought against it, or fortunately, I did fight against it, for the simple reason is it gave the building inspector the right to go into your home without being invited. And as far as I'm concerned, a man's home is his castle. If you're going to put a code in, I think what they ought to do is have it on a voluntary basis as far as the homes and the apartments. As far as some of the shabbier homes, I think we have to get our neighborhood initiative organization. There's a lot of funding out there. There's a lot of money available to help these elderly people bring their homes up to a nice-looking home. The trouble is some of them are embarrassed to ask for it. Some of them don't know about it. And some of them just don't know how to fill out the forms. If elected, I plan on working with the ward, the alderman, and trying to get around to these houses and make these people aware and help assist them in getting the form work and the paperwork done so that they can find this unused money and use every fund to its fullest. Thank you.
The Kmart Plaza is coming. It will be here during the next administration. Have any of you been in contact with Wide Waters, and what has been discussed? Don, you hear the question? The Kmart Plaza is coming. It will be here during the next administration. The question is any...
No, I have not been in contact with the question, Mr. Moderator. No, I've not been, obviously, in contact with Kmart. I don't think that the Kmart people have any reason to talk to me. Let's talk for a minute about the effect of Kmart. Fulton does $120 million worth of retail sales a year that generates sales tax revenue. If Kmart, P&C come in and take just 15% of that $120 million, all of you people in this room that pay taxes are going to take a $75 to $125 a year increase in your real property tax to offset the sales tax revenue that this community stands to lose. We really need to get a plan in order to try to entice Kmart to annex into the city of Fulton so that we wind up protecting our revenue source, which is sales tax revenue.
As far as being in contact with Whitewater or Kmart or anybody else, I haven't done so. But I'd like to think that in the contract that was signed by Mr. Millett, when they gave him the 11,000 gallons of water, where they specified it would go to 3 anchor stores, I would like to think that I had part of that. Part of that is due to me, because at one time I did say, check for the rat in the woodshed. Because I was afraid the water was going to be siphoned through Whitewater right over to 44 acres owned by Mr. Rowley, where he could put in a nice development. And I understand Volney wants to go to 2 to 2.5 acres per house next year. If they do this, with the water piped through, he would be able to put 4 houses on an acre of land, thus making more money, you know. And at the same time, it would just kill the city full, because nobody would buy a house in town anymore. So with the contract signed specifying the 3 anchor stores as receiving the water, I think that's some sort of a guarantee. It won't go any farther than where it is right now.
I have had contact with Whitewaters. I talked to Mr. Girardi approximately 6 to 8 weeks ago after this was passed. My conversation with Mr. Girardi was, this is all well and good, Mr. Girardi, but you're hurting the city of Fulton, and we need annexation if you're going to go on this project. It's not the Kmart project that's the problem. The problem is sales tax. That's the key of the whole situation. And let me tell you something. Ann Marbito Snyder, this Chamber of Commerce, and myself led the fight last year for a countywide sales tax. And we met with all of the politicians in Fulton. I'm talking about the legislators, the mayor of the city of Oswego, legislators from the city of Oswego, and we could not move the legislators from the city of Oswego to go for a countywide sales tax. And if I was a legislator sitting right here today, I would be up on my feet at the next meeting, the last meeting, I should have done it, and said, I demand a countywide sales tax. That is the problem. It's not Kmart, it's sales tax.
This may be coincidental or not, but the next question is, what are your plans and goals for the Fulton Area Partnership? Those who might not know that is a group from the city and the 2 towns who are working together to try to cooperate with improving the area.
That's the key to the whole thing about the Fulton Area Partnership. I am chairman of the Fulton Area Partnership. Basically, what we have been doing is dividing it up into different segments. Retail segment for, the retail sector. Our major goal at this point, our major thrust is cooperation with the 2 towns, the town of Granby and the town of Valney. And I've got to tell you something, it's difficult. You get them all in the same room, you get the 2 towns in the city in the same room, and we're all loving each other. But you get them apart, and it's pretty difficult. And you can see what's happening. We, at this point, are working with a consulting firm from Albany, putting together a program to bring back to the 2 towns for sharing services. And I think that's what we have to do. We can't go it alone. They can't go it alone. We have to share services. And we're now awaiting that study to come back, and we'll be releasing that fairly soon, I'm sure.
Throughout the 70s, the city of Fulton and the town of Granby and the town of Valney had a good relationship. I can recall times when Valney had a problem and Fulton would come to its aid. Many of you probably don't know this, but the Fulton Fire Department provides a lot of aid for Valney and Granby just through mutual aid agreements in this present time. I've seen us help Granby. I've seen us extend and improve water lines into Granby to existing water districts. I've seen us repair water lines in the town of Valney where there was a water district, but no money in the district to repair water lines. We put water lines out to the Glen to permit construction of single-family houses. We need to build on those past relationships. We need, again, to start dialogue between those 2 towns to discuss mutual problems, mutual goals, and mutual objectives.
One of the problems I see is the fact that the surrounding townships, they like our water and sewage, but at the same time, they don't realize that the city of Fulton is at its borders. We're busting at the seams. We need expansion room. What's going to happen if this city reaches a point where it can't sustain itself, then the surrounding townships are going to start paying in a percentage of their taxes to maintain the city of Fulton. We need the room for expansion. We have to expand. And the towns have to be made aware of this. And we have to really, really confront them with it and say, we need some room. And if it doesn't happen, the towns, surrounding towns are going to pick up the tab, and the county's going to start picking up the tab because we can't maintain ourselves.
Here's a 2-part question. One, what will be done to bring in new retail stores into the city? It says here in the 2% sales tax zone. other than discount department stores. And then this person wants to know, what about increased recreation programs? Be specific. Don. That's 1 minute to answer 2 questions. One about retail and one about recreation, right? You get 2 minutes. Never worked, Mr. Moderator, never worked. Specifically with recreation, which is the easy one first. When I came to this city, there were full-time recreation activities in all of our parks and playgrounds for our children throughout the summer. It did one thing. It gave our kids a place to go. It gave our kids a learning experience, and it provided employment opportunities for college students throughout the summer. We need to, and we can go back to doing that. And my sign says 1 minute now to talk about retail. The chamber, I was very active in not just bringing new businesses to this community, but one of the key things in any sales program is to retain existing businesses. We need to work with our businesses, our retail businesses, and our industry to keep them here and help them become more productive and help them to expand. The Chamber of Commerce, through its development committees, would also be talking to prospective new retail store owners. I certainly, as mayor, would work with them, and that's part of my plan.
Well, first off, on the retail matter, we have to maintain the retailers we have in town. We have to make sure they stay here. We can't let them go under. At the same time, I'd like to address the merchants, that maybe the Merchants Association could get together and maybe find people who had related items to share one storefront. There was a kiddie store downtown, there was a women's dress shop. They're both trying to maintain big storefronts, and they didn't make it. They folded. Now, had these two been directed and combined into one storefront, they might have made it. The rents are just a little too high, and when you start getting into specialty items, you can't turn over enough to really make a decent living and pay the overhead. So if you could combine two small businesses in one storefront, put related or matching items along that line, they might survive, and we have to steer people to this. As far as recreation goes, we have to have more recreation for the kids. We have the pee-wee, softball, and stuff like that. We have to really concentrate on the youth of the city, keep them out of trouble.
I'll go reverse with recreation. At this point, community development is surveying all the parks and recreation facilities that the city of Fulton has at this point. And as many of you well know, that the parks have not really been used to their fullest extent. One of the things that I saw last year was that there's no restrooms at Foster Park. I find that a little bit hard to believe, but those are some of the things I think we have to do. In my administration, we did a lot of those things with at least the restroom facility at softball field, and they put a softball field at North Bay. We did some work at Van Buren Park and so forth. So I really think recreation is very important to the city of Fulton. I think once that the CDA gets done with their inventory, I know that the pool was not open last year over by the War Memorial. I don't know if that can be reopened or not, because I don't know how far it's gone at this point. But I think we have to wait for community development to get their inventory together and see where we're going to go from there. But recreation is very important to the city of Fulton, and I've always supported recreation. The next question is, what can be done to bring new retail into the city? I think one of the things that I see, one of the benefits that can come out of this Kmart, if we get a level playing field, and I think Bruce's paper last night had an article in about Kmart. Kmart came to town, and everybody in Oswego was scared they were going to go out of business. Well, I have an office in Oswego, and I haven't seen really anybody go out of business at this, maybe one. And I think his paper relays that, in that Kmart can spur activity in retail, and you can get your own niche. And it's happened in Seneca Falls, it's happened in Waterloo with the Kmart over there, and it's happening in Oswego. So it's just not something that's bad. It can really spur activity. That was 2 minutes worth? What was it for?
Okay, the subject is trees. This may seem very insignificant in view of all our other problems, but why is Fulton the only small city in central New York with no program or plan for tree planting and maintenance? One of our aldermen has become a one-man defoliation team trying to see how many trees are still more to this. It's just a question of this.
Question's longer than the answer.
It's longer than what we're allowed to study. This is a 2-minute question with a 1-minute answer. Trying to see how many trees are, okay. Is it possible to take a lesson from Oswego and maintain our trees instead of removing them? Trees should only be removed when they are diseased or a public liability. How do you feel about this?
I think what we ought to do is maybe hire the alderman from Oswego. I don't know. This is a long question. I didn't know that there was a real great big problem about trees in the city of Fulton. I assume what we do, and I would think what we would do, is we have a dead or diseased tree, that we take it down, and then we replace it. Now, that's what we used to do when I was mayor for the 6 years in the 1980s. I did not know that we had a real problem here with trees. So I'm really unprepared for this question. I can't even read it with my glasses on.
I don't want to try to read it. I only got a minute to answer it. The city has a program of tree replacement, as a matter of fact, unless it's been done away with in the last 12 months, and I think that it still exists. The city furnishes trees to homeowners for planting in the rights of way. The trees are a bit of a nuisance because they heave our sidewalks. Trees become diseased and they need to be taken down. I'm led to believe that representatives of the city attended a seminar on tree planting within the last 2 weeks, and I think that the city should continue with those programs and care for its trees.
Well, the city does have a tree problem for the simple reason that I think so far this year we're looking at $38,000, which is a lot of money to cut down trees. In previous administrations, it's gone about $36,000 to $53,000. You know, there is a tree problem. But I think half the problem is the fact that we're cutting down trees that don't have to be cut down. There is a cabling system where some of the trees that have big branches could be cabled and reconstructed and left standing for another probably 50 years. But I think we have to be a little more sensitive before we cut down a tree. Go take a core sample and make sure that it's really a gone tree. Because 4th Street used to be beautiful. Trees overhanging the street. It was a really beautiful street. When you drove into town, you drove up 4th Street, and it was, you wanted to live here. If we keep cutting down our big trees, pretty soon all you're going to have is nothing.
Mr. Bullard, this is directed to you, and it so happens you're up first anyway. You have said that 50% of the land in Fulton is untaxed. Who owns it? Senior citizens, veterans, churches? Will they pay more under reassessment?
That's not true. That's not what I said. I said 50% of the assessed value in the city of Fulton is exempt from taxes. It's exempt because it belongs to nonprofit organizations. It's exempt because of payment or contracts called pilot payments. It's exempt because of veterans exemptions. There are a number of reasons why it's exempt. Will reassessment raise taxes? No one can answer whether reassessment will raise taxes, but I'll tell everyone in this room this. About a month ago, 22 major cities in New York State were notified by the Department of Taxation and Assessment that they had 30 days to bring their assessments into line with market value. Fulton is in the next tier of cities to receive that notice, and if the city thinks it can continue to hide its head in the sand and avoid the issue of tax assessments, it's kidding itself, because a judge, if the city doesn't respond to the notification, will ultimately order the city to do that. I can't tell you if your assessment increase will increase your taxes. It may not, but we need to look at it.
I believe the city should have a reassessment. We should go through it and do the whole thing all over again. The thing is we have a fractional assessment situation here, which is a very, very tough and touchy item. It can cost you a bundle. The city purchased a piece of property on the other side of the river over there that is, as far as I'm concerned, prime commercial land. And their city assessment was only for $1,026. And there's houses, people who own houses paying more than that in the city. So, I mean, you have to understand, there's got to be an adjustment made someplace. We have to open the books and find out who's paying and who's not paying.
There are various pieces of property in the city of Fulton that 50%, I believe it's a little bit more than 50%, is untaxed for all of the reasons that Don said. The other situation is reval, and what we are doing here with reval just spreads the tax dollar. It really hurts basically the senior citizen, because the senior citizen has probably a lower assessment. So I really don't know what the question is. It's untaxed, but if you want to get into reassessment and reval, that's what it's about.
Well, we're getting close to the end of our program, and I think before we do, I just want to mention that Northeast Video Recording Service, Terry Reynolds back there, is recording this, videotaping this, and we thank him very much for that service. Here's one to all three candidates, and I might mention that it's from Joyce Cook, librarian. You have all mentioned improving the public library as part of your previous remarks. Would you make a commitment to spending money to keep the building from leaking, to increase staff hours to 1990 levels so the hours open can be extended, to spend at least 2% of the city's budget on this public facility that offers more for all the departments, for all the community than other departments in the city that are better funded?
The answer is yes, except that I would not want to be held to maybe a 2%, because I really don't know if that's all that's needed there. I mean, you may have to have more, I don't know. But yes, I will commit to the library about making sure the facility is kept up, improved, that we have hardback books, that our computer system is up to date. I would even like to see an expansion of the Fulton Public Library. I think it's very important. I think it brings in a lot of people from out of town, the town of Hannibal, Granby, Mexico, and so forth, use our library. It's a resource, and it's a tremendous resource. And look at what's happening in Phoenix. It's something to be proud of. We should be proud of our library. So yes, I would do that. I would not want to commit, to a percentage of 2%, maybe 1%, it may be 3%, it may be 10%. I have no idea, but yes, I am for the public library.
Our library was built in 1905 through a gift of Andrew Carnegie. Maybe you do not know that. But if it's true that our children are our future, books are for our children and for our population, I have proposed from the beginning of this campaign that the library be funded on a proportionate basis also by the county. In other words, what I'm saying to you is the city of Fulton now funds the library, but it's used by people from all over the county. The county should contribute to the cost of that library, including its upkeep, including its maintenance, and including its schedule wherever Joyce is. I will not back down on that. The library needs help, ladies and gentlemen. The library is an important facility, and we need to improve it. But we need to look for sources of funding in addition to the city of Fulton to keep our library system sound.
I believe the Fulton Library is a key asset to the city of Fulton. I would like to see it expanded myself. I think it's a great asset to the city. As far as the maintenance of the roof, I believe that roof has been worked on every year for the last 5 years. Whether we're shortchanging ourselves with the contractors we're getting, or it's not being done properly, I don't understand. But it's a slate roof up there, and it requires some special workmen. You can't just hire a contractor out the street. Slate is a very, very delicate item, and it has to be laid properly. And I think we ought to run a funding campaign and maybe go through and do the whole damn roof and get it fixed right once.
Well, I'm personally happy that all candidates are in favor of that. And Joyce, I hope you get all your wishes.
It's on tape somewhere, isn't it? Right.
I think this will be our last question. What is your opinion on the Lake Niatawana project? Do you have monies budgeted for this project?
Am I first on that one? No, I don't have money budgeted for the Lake Niatawana project. And whoever asked that question, the mayor's job only pays $15,000 a year, which would hardly make a dent in that project. But I use Lake Niatawana. I was involved at the outset of helping to contribute to the development of North Bay. I believe, and have stated that North Bay should be open. I believe that the Lake Niatawana project should tie in with the North Bay development, and I think that the council needs to start looking for money to take care of that very, very important resource in our city, Lake Niatawana.
Well, we know how I feel about North Bay, there's no mistake about that. I have some reservations about dressing up around the lake. I mean, we're talking about $175,000, I think, for Bullhead Point, which we're looking for funding for. Plus, we're going to have to come up with another $175,000 for that particular area. If you stretch that around the lake, it's going to be a bundle of bucks. The city's going to have to come up with it, and the funding we're going to have to find for it. I think we should pay more attention to the resource itself. I mean, conservation, that lake is in trouble. We have to work on the lake. Let's not pretty up a septic tank. And that's what's going to happen. We've got to apply these monies to clean up Lake Niatawana.
I also don't have any money in my pocket at this point for Lake Niatawana. But let me say that the Lake Niatawana Reclamation Committee has a very, very aggressive program, which I support completely. It's going to be done in phases. The North Bay situation, the Bullhead Point, and then around the recreation park. It has to be done in stages because of funding. I believe that community development has applied for a grant to kick it off. I know that Senator Jim Wright has also gotten some monies for the lake. One of the other problems, obviously, as Phil touched on, is cleaning up the lake. There's really a two-part situation here. And that's the hardest part. It's cleaning up the lake. That has to be studied. It has to be done. I'm not sure we're going to have the monies to do it. But for the rest of the project, it's just going to be great. We get some privatization of monies invested and involved. It can be done, and I certainly back it. And I'm really enthused about the Lake Reclamation Committee.
Well, that does bring our roundtable to a close today. Incidentally, that Lake Niatawana subject was discussed in detail at our last Chamber of Commerce Roundtable, and I just want to say that that's the type of interesting programs that we present for the community every month. And this again proves how interesting the roundtables are, and I want to thank, on behalf of the Chamber, Don Bullard, and Philip Blair, and Bernard Drone, and I want to thank everybody for showing up, and all that's left is now for us to go out and vote. Good luck to all of you.